Or probable causes?
Probable causes. Well, so very commonly we have what we call ovulation problems. We call that anovulation. Okay. Ideally, a woman should release her eggs regularly. Okay, so if this doesn't happen, this will make it more difficult for her to get pregnant. Now, apart from that, we have fallopian tube problems. Because you see, when the egg is released, it passes through the fallopian tube to go and meet with the sperm. So if for some reason the fallopian tube is blocked, the sperm and the egg are unable to mate, and then there'll be an issue. Looking at the factors that may be responsible for infertility in women, high on the list will be abnormalities of ovulation.
Okay.
Yeah, because what we expect is that a woman should release eggs regularly. Okay, but at times this doesn't happen, and if this doesn't happen, it will make it more difficult for her to get pregnant.
Because there will be nothing to fertilize.
Exactly, exactly. So the other part of this also is abnormality of the fallopian tube.
Okay.
Now, so the fallopian tube is like a bridge between the ovary where the egg is released and the lining of the womb, the uterus. Okay, so if for some reason this bridge is blocked, then the sperms and egg cannot meet. We can't even talk about a conception. Okay, another common thing that may happen will be in the lining of the womb. At times the sperm and egg has been fertilized, but for some reason they can't get a good site to implant in the lining of the womb. So that can be an issue. Then other gynae conditions, so we call something endometriosis.
Okay.
So endometriosis is a condition in which the lining of the womb is present in other parts of the body. It causes very severe pain. It's a very, very difficult issue to manage. But we know that it causes infertility also.
How?
Well, it causes infertility because, as I said, the lining of the womb is present in other parts of the body.
Yeah.
So what tends to happen is that as that woman is, as you see in her period, and the flow is coming out, the other lining is also bleeding. But the bleeding is not coming out, it's accumulating inside. So all of this leads to accumulation of toxic substances, leads to blockage of fallopian tubes. It's a whole lot of unpleasant stuff.
That could fight even
the embryos.
What about things like ovarian cysts?
Okay, well, what ovarian cysts will cause is abnormalities of ovulation.
Okay.
Yeah, and the good thing is that, you see, a woman has two ovaries. So if ovarian cyst affects one ovary, the other ovary is there to function. Yeah, so the fertility will be compromised, not that it will be out entirely.
So it still has like a spare.
Exactly, to fall back on.
So what happens if the spare is also...
Then we'll have a problem. Then we'll have a problem. So abnormalities of ovulation is a major, major cause of infertility.
Major cause.
Yes, it is.
You talked about the genetics of the sperm cells.
Right.
Do we have a similar thing?
Okay.
On the other side as well?
Incidentally, we do.
Okay.
We do. But what that correlates more with women is age.
Oh.
Yes.
As you advance in age.
Exactly. So the genetic materials, they deteriorate. And that's why we're more likely to have miscarriages after a certain age.
After a certain age.
We're more likely to have fertility issues after a certain age. And that's why abnormal, handicapped children are more likely to be born after a certain age, because genetic material in the woman's eggs are damaged. And that's why I still think one of the best ways to prevent infertility, one of the best ways within our control, is to get married early, or to start raising a family early. That's the one of the things that are within our control, as that may be.
So advancement in age, does it also affect the sperm cells?
It does, but not as bad as women. So for instance, when a girl is born, her eggs are present. So
really?
If that woman is 40 years old, her eggs are 40 years old.
So it's not like puberty and...
Exactly. Meanwhile, for a guy, his sperms are not present till puberty starts.
I see.
So a woman has a fixed number of eggs. Once it's exhausted, the party is over. So if it gets exhausted at 30, that means she reaches menopause at 30. If it gets exhausted at 40, she reaches menopause at 40. If it gets exhausted at 50, she reaches menopause at 50. But for the guys, the sperms are continuously produced from puberty. So if you see a guy that is 40 years old, his sperms are 3 months old, because they're continuously being produced. If you say a guy that is 70 years old, his sperms are still 3 months old, which is why age is not such a big issue.
Because if the sperm is not used, the dies of another one is produced.
Exactly.
So it's regenerative.
That's the word. So sperms are regenerative, eggs are not. So age is a big issue for fertility, especially in women. It's also for men, but not as
much as
severely
in women.
Yes.
We looked at predisposable factors for men, so I think we should also look at it for women.
Okay.
What are the lifestyle issues that women need to be wary of when considering fertility and infertility issues?
Yeah. So as we said for the guys, sedentary lifestyle leads to increased body weight, increased body mass index, all that, because by the time my weight increases over 80, over 90, I'm more likely to have ovulation issues. And with ovulation issues come difficulty in getting pregnant. So that's a strong one. Okay. Now, apart from that, infections. Okay. So, truth of the matter, a lot of things our young ladies call toilet disease, not toilet disease.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They are actually sexually transmitted infections.
Really?
But to make it sound more civil, we tend to talk about toilet disease. In actual fact, there's nothing called toilet disease.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's a slang. It's medically, there's nothing called toilet disease.
Really? We would think that, I mean, the toilet, because the way it is, there will be probably a high risk of infection.
Well.
And especially because of the way it is constructed, the private part of the woman, that it can be easy for fluids, for airborne, you know, we are laymen anyway.
Yes, that's how we think, but that's not necessarily so. So if you're talking along these lines, you might as well go deeper, okay? For instance, we found out that it is best when you want to flush the toilet to cover the lid. Because when it's left open, you have all of that spiraling up, okay? It's so bad that when you culture the wall of the toilet, it has a high load of organisms.
I read about that somewhere.
Okay, but the good thing about this is that these organisms don't cause infections many times.
Okay.
Yes, so it's not such an issue. And that's why if you have paper towel in the toilet, those things have a high load of bacteria on them.
But we always keep them there. This is shocking.
They have a high load of bacteria. So rule of thumb, cover the lid when you need to flush.
Whoa.
So make a lot of difference.
So it's been medically proven that there's nothing like toilet infection.
Yes.
I'm surprised. Anyway.
If you did a Google search and said toilet disease, you won't see anything come out.
So they will all be sexually transmitted disease?
Yeah, more often than not. At times it's vaginitis. But to make it sound civil, it gets to a toilet disease.
But aren't there some things that the body produces, of a woman produces, that are like anti-agents or
okay, fine. So that's why I talk about vaginitis.
Okay.
Okay, because the vagina is never dry. It's just like the mouth. It's never dry. So there'll be some secretion. Okay.
Yeah.
So the nature of the secretion will now determine: is there an infection? Is there not an infection?
Okay.
All of that.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be STD.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we call that vaginitis.
Because we read about things that have to flush the vaginal wall.
Exactly.
We heard about even some bacteria that are
normally in there.
Beneficial.
Exactly.
You
that
know,
are normally
to
in there.
fight other foreign agents that may be destructive.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
this is a major cause of infertility.
Yes, because the infection, if it goes in, it can block the fallopian tubes. That's the commonest cause of blockage of fallopian tubes.
Okay.
Pelvic infections.
Pelvic infections.
Yes, and at times for some people, they just had a baby, and for some reason they got infected. Okay, some other person just had a pregnancy termination, and for some reason got infected. And that's why some people can say, "Oh, I had 2 babies effortlessly, and then I'm staying for 9 years, I'm staying for 10 years, nothing is happening." Very likely at the last delivery, something happened.
So it's not all infections that you actually feel pain or discomfort.
Exactly.
Some may just be living in there.
Exactly.
And destroying things, but not causing you any discomfort.
Yes, that's
true.
So
regular, frequent tests is also
will help.
Will help here.
That's right.
All right. What about other things that have to do with food and drinks, as you've explained about the man?
Okay. So
are there certain kinds of food that makes one predisposed towards infertility as a woman?
Well, anything, as I said for the guys also, we should as natural as possible. Because natural food have what we call antioxidants.
Yeah.
And antioxidants are always beneficial for fertility. Natural food, natural diet, exercise, keep my body weight down. Okay? If I have, keep to a partner, avoid unprotected sex. Those are things that we can do. avoid unwanted pregnancies. Those are things we can do to
minimize risk exposure.
Exactly.